I now call on President Hichilema. President, you have the floor.
I should? Thank you. Thank you very much. First, let me just acknowledge the excellencies that are here, President EU and my colleagues, World Bank, IMF, and Madam Ngozi there, and my colleagues who are panelists as well. Let me just thank the EU for this initiative to have this conversation. It's a very important conversation, and for inviting us, Zambia, to participate in this very, very worthwhile exercise, and extremely essential for us to make rapid progress. Let me set the context first. To achieve the long-term goals of the Paris Agreement, we believe we need, in addition to the incremental emissions reduction, we need deep transformation, essential transformation as a supplemental measure or a couple of measures. We must remember that our economies at the moment must conform, are not conforming, and must conform to be what we call low carbon emitting economies going forward. It's very important. The transformation will require substantial reallocation of capital. Capital that is available today, capital that we need to mobilize going forward. And I think it's important that the economies that are less developed then get a fair share of the allocation of that capital, which is available to us for this exercise, for this very important, if you like, commitment. We need to reduce emissions, yes. We need to put in place the infrastructure that will avoid locking in future, high emission activities. So we nip them in the bud, so to say, for lack of a better word. I think it's essential that we do that. We also need, yes, we talk about markets, carbon markets, we talk about pricing. I think that's not enough. We do need to have structured, clearly structured markets, steps that are required to reach or to operate in those markets. And the issue around pricing becomes extremely important. And I think it's important that this is taken seriously, because in the countries where we are, today you receive a proposal for a carbon project. You don't know how to respond to it. Clearly, it is delaying the processes. It is also possibly leading to suboptimality along the way, and will not allow us to achieve the intended objectives. So, that takes me to the next issue. What should be done? What should we do in order for us to effectively participate in the carbon markets and generate the carbon financing, or support the generation of the carbon financing for this transformation? Number one, I already mentioned, structured markets. Very, very essential. Deepen these markets. I'm talking about what you're already doing. We need to domesticate that in our own countries, to replicate, if you like, what you're doing in our own countries. And the pricing comes with it, obviously, but the instruments must be very clear. I think that's the message I'm giving. Structured markets, pricing, how do we get there? How do we look at a project that comes on the way? How do we assess it? We need what I call a walking path. I think it will be very helpful if we can get that cleared. Very essential to all of us. Number two, we need institutional and technical capacity to be able to allow us to just manage this new field. We have set up a Ministry of Green Economy ourselves, but this is the first time the ministry has been set up. It's learning. They have to benchmark. I think you are the basis. The nations of the North are the basis to assist us to benchmark, so we can avoid reinventing the wheel, losing time, and therefore being wasteful in the resource envelope. That is always limited. So we believe that institutional technical capacity support strengthening around the carbon markets and pricing is very important. Number three, it is important to articulate the array of benefits. As we engage, we, the developing countries, we define the markets, how to price, how do we cascade these benefits to the communities who are usually the poorer sectors of our own societies. How do we convince these communities that depend on the forest and do negative things that damage the environment and climate? How do we pull them in quickly to get a buy-in from them? Because we are able to illustrate, we're able to indicate to them that this is the block of what is available. If you move from these negative activities today, which you are engaging in, which are damaging the climate, and we move this way, this will be the return to you. This will sustain your livelihood. I think these are the three key things that I wanted to share with the platform today. In conclusion, really, COP28 should deliver and conclude on the mechanics of compliance to carbon markets. This is said to be a COP of action, a COP for action. And we're glad to hear some of the announcements that were made in the opening session there, that at least we're getting commitment on climate financing, 30 billion to start with. But here are also areas that are required to be checklisted in our action plan to make sure that the structuring, the pricing of the markets, and then devolving into the benefit structure. Because if the communities don't see the benefits clearly, they will resist, they will cheat. They will probably do things such as what sometimes Africans do. They'll say yes when they're looking at you, but they mean no. And they'll continue doing negative things. So I think that's the issue. That's our message. Let's work together. We are committed, fully committed, as leaders, as governments, and then we can use that to pull our people along, committed to this approach, because there is no option to this approach. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Your Excellency.